Hi Tamers! I hope you're enjoying the new update. With official tournaments being added to the game, there's a brand new form of PvP to get excited for. This update also added 5 new pieces of gear into the game. Today we'll talk about the new gear, what they do, and what tems will theoretically use them the best. Hopefully this info can help you get an idea of how the new meta will take shape in time to win your next tournament. There's a lot to cover in this video, so let's get right into it. First of all, in order to get the new gear, you just need to do a series of quests in the Cremacourt building in Neo Edo. I don't want to spend too much time walking you through the quests, but I'll just say they're pretty easy. It only took me about an hour to get through all the quests, and it was pretty funny hanging out with the NPC versions of the dev team. With that out of the way, let's pull up our first new piece of gear, Fake Beard. Fake Beard gives the holder the invigorated status for 2 turns when they enter the battlefield. This condition doesn't come up very often, so let me remind you it just reduces the stamina cost of your techniques by 50%. This is the 3rd stamina related gear released, alongside Sweatband and Matcha, which have both impacted the meta significantly, especially after the Sapanku update, as tems are a lot more stamina reliant than they were before. It might be a little confusing when deciding which gear to use on which tem, and you should probably think of it this way. The 3 items work better based on how long you plan on leaving that tem on the board. Oshiera, for example, has some stamina issues, but you usually just want to attack 2 or 3 times with it before switching out. Volarend and Valash have the highest impact when they can attack 3 or 4 turns without resting, and tems like Cernif and Yaller want to stay on the board as long as possible. It's also worth mentioning that if a tem has the invigorated status and then it gets the exhausted status, they cancel each other out, so tems that learn Thunderstrike might consider running it, so they can Thunderstrike without penalty on their first turn. You can also put Fake Beard on Source Replicator 0B10 as a catch-all stamina recovery support. I think that could be pretty good. Next up is Gravel Bag. It makes special earth moves use your attack stat instead of special attack. It's best used by tems that learn Soil Steam. This is a technique that was added in the last patch, but pretty much every user except Mudrid has higher attack than special attack, so Korin, Gario, Zizare, and Volcrane can all sort of make use of it. There aren't very many good physical earth moves because most of them are low priority, like Stone Ball and Earth Wave, so being able to use Soil Steam as a pseudo-physical attack seems pretty good. It's also good because it turns those tems into mixed attackers. Soil Steam is still a special attack, it just scales with the attack stat now, so you can pick and choose whether to use Soil Steam against tems with low special defense and regular physical earth moves against tems with low physical defense. I think Korin especially will see play with this setup, because he has a lot of trouble proccing his scavenger trait without being able to outspeed the enemy. I also think Zizare can see some play as well, as it lacked a good earth move to use on turn 1 before. Next up is Mom's Lunch. Mom's Spaghetti. It's a little less straightforward. It applies exhausted to every tem on the field except the holder for 1 turn. It's an interesting anti-meta option that's good against burst leads like Oshiera and Koish. It has good synergy with chamomile starts on your side, as you can avoid the exhaustion on your own tems completely if one has lunch and one has chamomile. This also works with Neutrality Barch, as well as Resistant, Mudrid, and Gallus. It's worth mentioning the viability of putting it on tems that also apply statuses on Switchin, like 2-Wire and Tolkien, and using it to remove negative statuses from your own tems and positive ones from the enemy. There's also a multi-turn sleep combo with Mom's Lunch 2-Wire. If you use Lullaby or Relax to sleep the enemy team, you can bring in Common Factor 2-Wire with Mom's Lunch to remove the alert status after they wake up, and then sleep them again that turn. Next in line is Morale Boosting Whip. When the holder enters the battle, it gives its ally +1 speed at the cost of 35% of the ally's stamina. It's a support gear that helps certain tems that need a little bit of speed. You know, the tems that are almost fast enough to outspeed the metagame, but not quite, like Momo, Inky, and Golzi for example. So you need to put that item on support tems you plan to pair them with. So Zalbian for example gets good value out of speed boosts from Gozma, but if Gozma gets banned, hopefully you put Morale Boosting Whip on another tem to have a similar effect. You also need to be careful that you don't accidentally overexert the tem you're boosting, but the Zalbian example is good because they have really high base stamina. This item also seems really good on a Rise, since it will feel like Rise before the speed changes in the Sapanku patch. You only lower the enemy's speed by 1 stage, but you'll also increase your ally's speed by 1 stage, so it's the equivalent of 1 stage of speed from the last patch. There's also an interesting combo with Tireless Mashuk that involves Morale Boosting Whip and Mom's Lunch. If Mashuk loses 35% stamina from Whip and then uses Wastewater while exhausted, he'll overexert and get the +1 attack from Tireless. This only works if your Mashuk has 57 or less less stamina, so just don't put a bunch of TVs into Stam. I think this opener isn't too bad, but it's definitely less good than last patch when the Tireless Mashuk would get the attack bonus before the attack actually hit. Either way, Tireless Mashuk can function as a pretty good sweeper with this setup. Redirection Device is the last piece of gear added this patch, and it's another support gear. It redirects any digital moves targeting the ally to the holder instead. It's interesting because no type naturally resists digital, so the holder will always be taking neutral damage from it, unless you use it on certain Iridescence Koishas. This might boost those Koishas into a niche support tier. For example, Iridescence Digital Koish and Zalbian have a good amount of synergy with Electro Punch, and with Redirection Device he can protect Zalbian while he sets up with Heat Up. Bottom line, if your team has a lot of digital weakness, this gear piece can help round it out. You could also put it on Tems that just wanna die, like Pigapek with Fainted Curse, and then just toss them out whenever the opponent has a digital threat on the board. You could also maybe put it on Yowler to guarantee you proc Comebacker against digital matchups, but Matcha's so good on him you probably wouldn't. Just food for thought. And that's all 5 new gear pieces, and how to use them. At least in my opinion. What do you think? If you have any sick combos that I didn't mention in this video, be sure to comment and let me know. Thanks for watching. My name is Blink, and I make Temtem content for YouTube. If you like this video, thanks. Stay tuned for more, and have a nice day.